Disclaimer. All topics in this video are alleged and allegedly, and they are strictly for entertainment purposes only.
Three, two, one.
Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, not only had drama in her music, but in her life. We take a look at the tumultuous love life. Did she steal Dennis Edwards of the Temptations from one of her sisters while she was still involved in a relationship with Ken Cunningham, the father of her fourth son? Did she catch her husband, the second one, Glenn Turman, in bed with one of her sons? Did she have a one-night stand with Sam Cooke? A legendary soul singer seems to say yes. We'll get into that. Who is the father of her oldest son? Rumors have swirled forever that there was incest between Franklin and her dad, the Reverend C.L. Franklin. We take a look at the celebrity feuds. First, Natalie Cole. Aretha said she could not stand Natalie, off the record, that is. We'll take a look at that, as well as Roberta Flack. Aretha said Atlantic Records wasn't big enough for the two of them. Off with her head. Woo! We have information from her own book, From These Roots, that she wrote with David Ritz. Then the juicy book that David Ritz wrote without her respect, that Aretha said that was nothing more than trash, trash, and more trash. We have magazine articles from J.Evans, Rolling Stone, as well as video clips, pictures, and more to give you the drama behind the music. Aretha Franklin. Let's talk about it. Hey, it's me.
Donna.
Interviewing me. I appreciate you.
Topping it up with you like veggies in a food processor for Thanksgiving dressing.
You didn't have to do that. Why would you do that?
Now back to J.Evans. Let's talk the talk.
Child. Child, yeah. Child. That's right. It's gonna be some ooh child moments. You know, back in the day when you was a kid and adults were partying and talking about gossip, and you just heard ooh child. It's gonna be another moment that I like to call the messy mashed potatoes. Drama. Messy mashed potatoes. Messy French fries. Look, the cat in the potatoes, just messy. Oh yes, that. So if you aren't subscribed to me, you better go ahead and subscribe, set your notifications so you can be one of my apple pies. Those are my subscribers. If you're a returning apple pie, thanks for coming back. Now, let me say this. I am a fan of Miss Franklin, but I like the good, the bad, and in between. We're focused on the drama, okay? Because sometimes you need a little drama in your life. You don't need to be singing No More Drama Falling Out like Mary J. because you got drama, but sometimes it's okay to watch somebody else's drama. So it's no better way to start than let's start at the beginning, baby.
Did you know Sam Cooke?
Yes, I did. I knew him very well.
What was your reaction to Sam Cooke? I've read some.
The same as every woman's reaction.
Okay, now, back in the day, Sam Cooke was the man, baby. They said, the street said, Sam would be on stage, women would be throwing their panties, throwing themselves at him. Baby, he was catching the panties and catching them at the end of the night while he was married and bagging them up in a motel room now. In Aretha's book, From These Roots, that she co-wrote with David Ritz, she said their relationship was strictly platonic. Now, I'm going to say this because I'm not going to call Miss Franklin a liar. What I'm going to use and say is she likes sprinkling a little bit of fairy dust on stuff, okay, to better suit her. In this book, Respect, that David Ritz wrote without Miss Franklin, according to legendary soul singer Johnny Taylor, the one that sings "Who's Making Love to Your old lady. Hey, why you out making love? That JT, the one that sings, shake it up, shake it down, move it in, move it out, disco lady. Hey, JT with the get down, baby. Johnny Taylor said they were in Atlanta. Said Aretha was like around 12, Sam Cooke was around 23. Now, in this Atlanta motel, okay, the staple singers were there. They were moving around, and Reed's daddy, Reverend C.L. Franklin, was like, hey, y'all saw Reed. The staple singers knew where she was at. They was like, you know how somebody just try to act like they don't hear you. CL said, hey, have y'all seen Aretha Louise Franklin, my daughter? The staple singers was like, oh, we got to go, Reverend. Da, 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 da. Bam! They said CL was knocking at that door. Now, according to Johnny Taylor, he said Sam Cooke enjoyed a lot more than Aretha singing. Now, allegedly, they also had another incident in New York City in a good hotel, motel, Holiday Inn, baby. Sam Cooke was just out there, baby.
Wrote a biography of herself with David Ritz. He's recently come out
That
with...
was 15 or 20 years ago.
Right.
Now, what are you referring
From
to?
These Roots. And
From These Roots is, yes, the book that I wrote and he co-wrote.
Right. And he's come out with his own biography of you.
No, he's come up with a book of trash. That's all that is a book of trash. Lies, lies, and more lies, and lies on top of lies. That's all that is.
Now, get your blanket or get your sweater. I'm about to give you Mr. Rogers' story time. Now, what we do know that's not a lie is Fantasia's first time meeting Aretha Franklin. Here is what went down. I got this via page 6 in a 2018 article after the Queen of Soul had passed. Because I like to just pull articles. I don't like just giving the street talk. So Fantasia was there performing in 2007 at a tribute to Miss Franklin. This was her first time meeting her, and Tasia was excited. She said the first tape she ever bought was Aretha Franklin. Now, y'all remember the tapes back in the day, used to put them in. You had to take the tape out, put it on the B-side. Some of y'all still owe Columbia House and BMG money. I'm part of the reason why they got out of business, baby. You can't give me 12 CDs for a penny or 7 for the price of one and think I'm not finna put it in 50,000 people's name and have it come into one house. Okay, baby. 20 apartments. Not okay. So let's get into what Tasia had to say. She walked around the room gracefully, as Aretha would do. Very smooth. She shook hands, gave people 1 or 2 words, and kept it moving. Franklin's mood suddenly shifted when she reached Marino. She finally gets to me, and she looks at me. I'm still crying. And she said, you can sing, but I'm that around here. I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's not what I was ready for, but she was serious. Aretha, why would you do that? You didn't have to do that to Fantasia. Marino replied to the unusual exchange, yes, ma'am. And I understood exactly what she was saying because she was that in my life for me, Fantasia said. There will never, ever be another Aretha Franklin. That was her just letting me know, you're good, but I always know I'm the head chick. Reed, why would you do that? Now, I got to run that back and read it again, baby. She finally gets to me, and she looks at me. I'm still crying, and she said, you can sing, but I'm that around here, and don't you forget it. Tasia. We back, y'all. I had to compose myself, baby. Reed, you did that to Tasia. You was being more spaced out than Judy Jensen. Now, another rumor that has plagued Franklin forever is the rumor of who is the father of her first son. Now, a lot of people in this book Respect were alluding to the fact that was her father. The former record label that she was signed to, Columbia Record, the head of the record label told the story to Jerry. Jerry told it to David Ritz. David Ritz said he was scared to ask Aretha when he was writing the book, probably because you knew she was going to go upside of your head and say, I'm that. Don't you ever ask me nothing like that. Now, David was not afraid to ask her sister and brother. Armour said it's a vicious, untrue rumor, Cecil was like, ain't happening. Now, I think the reason why a lot of people believe that is because her father allegedly got Mildred Jennings pregnant when she was 12. That's what caused them to leave Memphis, Tennessee, and then go to Buffalo, and from there they went to Detroit. Now, Aretha got pregnant when she was 12. Now, I think one of her oldest two sons might have a little special needs. Maybe that's why people are thinking it, because of the whole incest thing, when you have a baby by somebody you're related to. I don't know if it's Clarence. Clarence is the oldest son that she had at 12, 2 months before she turned 13. Then the next son is Edward, that allegedly she got pregnant by a guy named Edward Jordan that she had when she was 14. Now, the father was said to be Donald Burke of Clarence, her older son. Then they said in her will that she revealed that the father was really Edward. Now, I'm hoping like that isn't true, because that's just like a whole nother can of worms. But so many people had said it, I had to put it in there because, people, J.Evans, you didn't touch on this. And I'm just saying what's out there. That isn't me. That's the street saying it, baby. That's what the street said. So that's what I found. That's what I gave you. Now let's go on.
I've still got to find out who and what I really am. I don't know yet. I'm trying to find the answer.
Into Ted, wannabe Superfly Pimp White. Now, Aretha had met Ted when she was actually a child. That's right, Ted was older than him. She married him around the age of 18, 19, and he was like 30-ish and up. Now, Ted dated Dinah Washington, who Aretha knew as a kid. Everybody was at the Franklin house, baby. It was like they had an unlimited EBT card. People were just coming over, hanging out, kicking it. They had the big mama cooking, taking care of the kids. She helped re-raise the kids. So once she got older, she ended up getting with Ted. Now, according to soul singer Etta James, it was known that Ted was like a pimp. That's what the streets is saying, okay? Now, Ted was notorious for slapping her around. Even her brother Cecil said it in the book with David Ritz, that he could not keep his paws off. Ted, you need to keep your paws off of people. You gonna put your paws on the wrong person, they gonna smack you up, run up to get smacked up. Now, during this time, once she married him, he became her manager. She signed to Columbia Record. Those years were not hit-filled years for Miss Franklin. She did not have a hit to save her life, baby, okay? She was probably still waiting on her income tax refund like some of y'all, baby. You want to go get a new car, 3 months later, it's repossessed. I know what you do. So, at this point, Aretha decides with Ted, we need to move over to Atlantic Records. Atlantic Records is a huge record label. They have a lot of soul acts like Ray Charles, Sam and Dave. It was like the premier soul label. So she gets over there. They signed her. Jerry Wexler wanted to pass her off to another producer. He was like, don't want to do it. Okay, so Jerry does the production. He's like, let's take you to Muscle Shoals, Alabama with the Alabama guys. They get down there. Here comes Ted acting a bunny hop jackrabbit fool. Easter just passed, Ted, but you out here showing out. Now, allegedly, they went to cut the song I Never Loved a Man that Ronnie Shannon, a writer, gave to Ted. They played it. Everybody was like, okay. Recorded it. They was like, yes, this is going to be big. Then they did half of a demo of Do Right Woman, Do Right Man. Well, evidently, Ted did a little too right. Now, let's go with the sprinkle of fairy dust from Reed. So Reed says in her book, we were down there, we cut the song. I don't know what happened. Some mess happened. Me and White left. That's not what David Ritz said. Now, in the Respect book, David said, y'all was down there drinking, y'all was celebrating. Ted got into it with one of the musicians. He thought he was Muhammad Ali. Reed was like, what? You out here just embarrassing me? Took her back to the room, tried to go upside her head. Then the owner of the studio tried to make nice after talking with Jerry. Ted thought he was going to go upside his head. That man was like, I ain't your wife. I smack back. My tap back is the get back. Next thing you know, bam, Ree is gone. They like, where is Aretha? Jerry takes this song to DJ so they can print it up, get a feel for it. They start playing it. The song is taking off. Bam. They're like, this is a huge hit. We don't have a back song for this single. Aretha is in hiding from Ted. Like she's hiding, you know, how you hide in witness protection from a bill collector. They knocking on your door. Said she was hiding like that. Like back in the day, the welfare people used to come and check your house to make sure you ain't have no nice stuff. That's how they said. The street said that's how you was hiding, Bree. I don't know. So this became a tumultuous time for her. Now, eventually, Jerry got her back in the studio. She recorded her album, and that was it. She was off. It was bam, larger than life. She became the Queen of Soul and was crowned the Queen of Soul by DJ Purvis Spann. Did y'all know that they crowned her? Okay, let's get into it. But things suddenly shifted. Here is where my favorite character, Ruth Bowman, comes into play. Come on, Ruth. Get to Ruth, I'm giving y'all story time because she called Ruth Mother Goose. This book I'm on hold for y'all is Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. One of my favorite when I was a kid and still as an adult, baby. It goes hard, okay? So Ruth was nicknamed Mother Goose by Ree because they were on a flight to Venezuela. Now, Ree is knocking back the drinks, having a good time, getting her drink on, baby. Like she at the barbecue and it's Friday and she just got paid. You know when you get paid on Friday, you go fry some fish, barbecue, all that good stuff. Well, that's how loaded Ree was. Now, Ruth tried to tell her, Ree, I'm going to give you a 2-drink minimum. Ree was like, let me tell you something. Mother Goose, you ain't my mother. I'll drink all I want. Said Ree went in the bathroom and locked herself in and continued to get wasted. Now, it was time to land the plane. So, wait a minute. Let me see. Said the stewardess was banging on the door like Ree Daddy banging on that motel door when she was in there with Sam Cooke and was like, Miss Franklin. Ree didn't say nothing. The pilot landed the plane anyway. So according to Ruth, when Ree opened that door, either she was traumatized from that landing or she was so lost in the sauce, she was towed up from the damn floor up. Now, Ruth was like, it's reporters out here. I can't let them see her like this. So she arranged for the pilot to pull the limo closer. They were able to get out. Said as soon as Ree got in the car, baby, she was knocked out. Now, were you out here like Ned the Wino from Good Times? Because during this period, it was very tumultuous for her. And one of the reasons why is because she was with Ted Superfly Pimp White. They said, Ree, you didn't need to sing Dr. Feel Good, that Jack Daniels was apparently making you feel good. Now, another reason why Ruth to me is important because she's that person, like, if you have people in your life that's going to be straight up with you, like, look, you need to get it together, you need to stop. Ree's like, Mother Goose, I can do what I want to. Bam! She gave you Mother Goose. Now, something else that was notorious during this time is Ruth working with magazines, getting them to spin stories like Jet, like Ebony. Ruth had it on lock, okay? Mother Goose time again with Ruth. Let's get into it. Come on. Ruth gives all the juice that you need. Now, this next event happened in Columbus, Georgia. Now, they said Ree was on stage. Ree told the story a different way. Let's sprinkle it with a little fairy dust. She said she was on stage. The lights were blinding her. They got in her eyes. She fell and she broke her arm. Well, according to Ruth, she was not there, but she said Ree's assistant was and said she had a little bit too much to drink. This is where Ruth comes in and spins the story. Jet magazine published a story with Aretha with her arm in a cast saying that the Queen of Soul was blinded by the lights.
Okay.
My
oh boy
1968
wow.
Time magazine.
Now, Aretha was featured on Time magazine. I think she was the first black female ever featured on the cover. She thought it was going to be a nice puff piece like Jed and Ebony did. No, ma'am, Pam. What they reported was the incident where Ted roughed her up at the hotel. They reported things about her, quotes from people saying, there's a reason why she's singing the blues, alluding to her marriage. They reported her talking about food, being obsessed with it, calling her chunky, just stuff you don't want to hear about if you want to cover a Time magazine. So Reed was like, we're going to sue him. Ruth was like, for what? Telling the truth? Ted did try to sue him, but guess what? Nothing happened. So they just had to roll on, which brings us to the time period of Lady Soul with the drama. I'm going to tie in the drama because there's a famous song that is made during this period.
Ain't No Way, the tune that my sister Carolyn wrote. And she was trying to teach me. I didn't know how the melody went. And not being able to read music, she was showing it to me.
Guess who's at this recording session of Ain't No Way? With Ree, the Sweet Inspirations that feature Cissy Houston. They're doing the backing vocals on this song. But somebody else special is at this session. Little Whitney Houston. That's right, Nippy. That was her nickname. Y'all know that. We love a good nickname. I love it. So she was at this session, and when she grew up and made it big, she started calling Aretha Aunt Ree. You know, a lot of times how you not related to this person, you live next door to them, they might give you a slice of pizza. So now you my cousin. Oh, that's my auntie, but they not really your auntie. Y'all know we do that. Like a lot of y'all claim 10 kids on your taxes and you can't get no credit for 3, but whatever. So she started calling her Aunt Ree, but there's also a little tiff because, baby, now Cissy later was like, no, she really wasn't her aunt, but let's get into me giving y'all a little story time.
The Sweet Inspirations. It's been kind of hard to pull them back together because I wanted them to do some concerts with me. They did many of my recordings in the early 60s at Atlantic. And
hang in there.
Okay.
How did you end up with a cameo in the video?
The cameo, I don't know. I have no idea. But I thought it looked great. I said, now that's cute.
That she called you up and said, please be in the video? And
no.
No?
I just saw it. It was in the middle of, what was it, How Will I Know?
I know that she was Whitney's godmother.
Not really.
Oh, no?
She was just a good friend of mine.
Really good friend of yours.
We were
lovely. It's fabulous that she's been influenced by me.
So that's kind of a surprise. It's not like you were a mothering type that gave her a lot of advice over the years.
No. I had no idea that that Whitney felt as close to me as she does, but it's lovely.
You already be in the same company as an Aretha Franklin. I mean, that has to blow you away. I mean, you know what your talents are, but still, I mean, there has to be someone that you grew up admiring.
Yeah.
And now to be considered her equal.
Yeah. Ooh, don't tell her. Don't tell her. No.
According to record producer Narda Michael Walden, who wrote the book, The Voice, The Music, The Inspiration about Houston, a recording session between Aretha and Whitney went all the way wrong due to Aretha, not Whitney. The producer was in a session for both singers for the track It Isn't, It Wasn't, It Ain't Never Gonna Be. Walden said that Franklin turned cold to Houston during the session, and this was the first and only time that he saw Aretha nervous in the studio. He mentioned that Franklin stayed in the studio and did 8 takes of the song until she had a part that she felt like was as good or not if better than Houston's. Walden then went on to say Whitney was still upset by how she had been treated. As soon as her work had been completed, Whitney gave me a hug, said a quick goodbye to her Aunt Ree, and departed the session. I felt a little awkward, but without pausing to take a breath, Aretha turned to me and said, "Go to that part of the tape where she did that thing and punch me in right after it." So that's what we did. Aretha reared back and performed an absolutely phenomenal riff before saying, "Do it again." She didn't normally work like this, but we ended up doing 8 takes right on that spot to make sure that where Whitney had just knocked her and everyone else out, Aretha had a comeback. The shade. Ree is finally done with Ted Superfly Pimp White. Now, in regards to her marriage, she said in a Billboard interview in the 70s, "Let's sprinkle the fairy dust, sprinkle it on. It was like a fairy tale. When it was magical and great, it was good and it just ran its course." In her book, she just said, "Oh, we got a divorce. He kept the boat. I kept the house." Bam. That's why Ruth said, "Reed, you being delusional, sis." Now, they said Reed was hiding and ducking and just running from Ted because he liked to put his paws on her, and I guess it was just a tumultuous time trying to get away from him. But when she did, guess who came into the picture? Now, she already had 3 sons. She had her 3rd one with Ted. Here comes Ken Cunningham. Now, Ree was supposed to go cut an album in Miami. Jerry Wexler moved there. He was like, "Look, New York is too cold. Come on down here, cut this album. I'm going to put y'all up real nice." So at this point, Cecil is now her manager. So bam, they finna go to Miami. They think they finna party. Ree finna cut this new album. Bam, wrong. Ree bumps into Ken. He's supposed to be like a business type guy. Jerry said they ain't get to cut no album. Said Ree went back home and took Ken Cunningham with her. And let me tell you something. At this point, she is famous. So she's like, "Nobody asked for y'all approval. Y'all can't even get approved for a credit card. I don't need y'all approval." But guess what? Everybody did approve of Ken because he helped her get herself together. He was like, "Look, you got to stop this drinking. I can't go for it." Now, during this time, she stopped drinking. She started rocking like the big afro. They call it the big freedom fro. Baby, like Snoop Dogg in a Gin and Juice video. Ree started wearing like African garments, started putting the wraps on her head. Her hair was natural. This was like an iconic time for her because her voice was like at its peak. Her voice got higher and stronger, and she managed to slim down and lose some weight. So this was the start of her being real foxy, like they say back in the day, baby. You better come through. But it's only one problem, baby. This the problem. Aretha had her eyes on Dennis Edwards of the Temptations. Now, let me tell you something. Dennis was actually dating Arma. Yes, gonna say child. Yes, her sister. She knew it. Now, he said they went over to the Franklin household to play some songs. They were trying to get Ree on a song. And he said Ree was like making a play for him. Now, he said this himself, that he was a ladies' man. Yes, he was. He admitted it. He said it. Arma was like, "I wasn't expecting to settle down with him, but I wasn't expecting my sister to pull up on him too." Like they say, pull up. Well, Ree pulled up, and not to the bumper, baby. She pulled up to Dennis, but Dennis was like, "I was a ladies' man. I was everybody's man." And he said she sort of was everybody's woman. "Dennis, you better come through." Now, Dennis replaced David Ruffin in the Temptations, the Ball of Confusion. Those Temptations, the Papa was the those Temptations, baby. Yes, so he was like in one of the biggest groups at the time, and she was one of the biggest soul singers. So Reed said he was tripping and dipping in everything. Now, the song Daydreaming was wrote about him. Now, in her book, Reed said, "I went to see him, we went for a ride, I wrote the song." That ain't what Dennis said. Dennis said she wrote this song like in 69, 70, something like that, around the time you was still messing with Ken. He heard her playing it. It wasn't until years later that he heard it and was like, "That song about me." I guess, baby. So they said they got into a tiff. Arma and Ree. That's right. Carolyn was like, they were at the house. Arma was like, "What?" They going in. Arma threw a glass. She said she wasn't trying to hit her. She was trying to hit the wall. Yeah, Arma. So Carolyn was like, they went up to the bedroom. It was pulling hair and scratching and punching. And they daddy was like, whatever, because he was a ladies' man too. So, baby, that is the story with them. So, Ree caught him in a bunch of stuff. Now, he went on to, during that time in the 70s, get with one of the Pointer Sisters. Oh, yes, baby. Ree, you around here like salt and pepper. If you mess with me, I'll take you. That took your sister, man. Why would you do that? You didn't have to do that. Now, let's get into more celebrity feuds. Let's start with Roberta Flack. I like Roberta Flack. She's got a mellow, kind of soft, soulful sound, but Aretha did not like Roberta Flack. As a matter of fact, they said the people at Atlantic tried to just say, here, listen to her album. Aretha was like, what? Y'all better get on up out of here. Now, one of her producers, Joe Doran, had this to say. Aretha knew that I was Roberta's producer. Because of that, every time I ran into her at the studio, she looked at me with daggers in her eyes. I was always extra polite, but I never got past her cold-blooded stare. I dealt with chilly women before, but she was absolute ice. You would have think I killed her dog. What apparently you did, baby, because Ree was not having it. When it came to Roberta Flack, even our girl, Ruth Mother Goose, couldn't do nothing with Ree. She was having trouble with Ree too. Now, this was a tribute that Quincy Jones was giving to Duke Ellington around this same time. Ree did not have a problem appearing with Sarah Vaughan and Peggy Lee, but when it came to Roberta Flack being on the same stage, they was right here. Three Musketeers, Ree was right there, pimped out. Like, y'all better stay y'all over there, okay? So Mother Goose was like, you know what? I can't handle this. I'm gonna let Atlantic Records deal with this, the record company, baby, because this too much for me. Ruth, you better come through. Now, when Natalie Cole came on the scene, she was being called the new queen of soul, and Ree was not having it. Rolling Stone did an interview with Natalie Cole June 1977, and Natalie opened up about the issues in the drama. When they asked her about being called the Queen of Soul, she said she preferred Princess. When they asked her about the Diana Ross comparison, because they both recorded the song Good Morning Heartache, Natalie had this to say. I've heard strains of Aretha, but I've never heard no Diana Ross. We don't sound anything alike. I think I sound a lot better than Diana Ross. You have to excuse my frankness, but I'm serious. There aren't too many artists that I would want to put myself up against, but I'll put myself up against Diana any day. When asked about Franklin, however, Natalie took a different approach. Now, every year, Aretha had won Best Female R&B Vocalist since the category started in 1968. But then Natalie came right on along and took it. Now, Natalie had this to say. When I met her, Aretha said, I'm hearing a lot about you. And I said, really? You're one of my favorite people. She sent me flowers when I opened up at different places. And then she called me one Christmas and she was at Carnegie Hall and bought me on stage. But then she stopped returning my calls. The next thing was the Grammys. I went up to her and she broke my face. I mean, she really hurt me. I said, how come you haven't called or anything? Aretha said, how come I haven't called? And she humped Natalie aside. And that night I won 2 Grammys and I was up there almost in tears. I felt so bad. I really wish I hadn't won, and that was awful. Franklin declined to comment on the matter. Now, if that wasn't enough dirt, Marvin Yancey and Chuck Jackson, who produced for Natalie Cole, actually took some of those songs from Natalie's first album to Aretha. Aretha turned them down, but after they gave them to Natalie and did her first album, this album, there's a song on here called You, the last song on this album. Now, this album came out before the new Aretha album, but guess what? Aretha came out with You, the same You that Natalie Cole has on her album. Baby, retook this song and put it on the album, The Shade, and then you named your album You. So you was really trying to prove a point because Natalie album came out first. The Shade. Luther Vandross had this to say about working with Franklin on the song Jump to It. They were having a disagreement over the arrangement, and Franklin said, "Who's the one with the most hits here?" She asked. Of course, the answer was her. "I just had one. She had dozens." Luther shot back, "But who's the one with the latest hits?" She didn't answer. She stormed out and grabbed her fur coat. "You better push through, Ree."
Married last year, didn't you? To a very fine actor. Tell everyone.
Yes, his name is Glenn Turman, and I've been married about 1.5 years now.
What might people have seen your husband in?
Cooley High.
Now, before Ree met Glenn, she was just coming off the success of the Sparkle soundtrack. Originally, her younger sister Carolyn was supposed to do it, but Ree heard it. Curtis had played it for Carolyn. She was set to record it. No, Ree took it over. They got into a cat fight, and then bam, Ree got what she wanted. Again, why would you do that? You didn't have to do it, but you did, baby. So they say you do what you want to, Ree, and I'm not mad at you. Now, she got with Glenn Turman that played Colonel Taylor in A Different World, and he was also in Cooley High as Preach. Okay, push through, Glenn. Now, that was my favorite moment when she was with Glenn. She looked glamorous. She left New York. The afro was gone. She had permed her hair, relaxed it, put what y'all call a creamy crack on there, and it was flowing, and she was thin and fabulous, and she was in Los Angeles. But that didn't last long because she moved to Detroit after the incident with her father happened. Now, the big gossip, the last piece, is they said that Aretha caught Glenn in bed with her son. Now, I don't believe that for one, because Ree is a strong soul sister. She would have turned into Farrah Fawcett in the burning bed and set that bed on fire. That's just what I think. Now, when I went digging and digging, the only thing I could find was speculation. Somebody put on the site, this rumor is so old, it has grandkids. So, shady. I couldn't find any concrete proof about this. I think it's just hearsay. But, baby, let me tell you something. The drama behind this music of Miss Franklin, I still love her. I have her vinyl albums, everything. She is amazing to me. She is a force of nature. To me, hands down, she is the single best vocalist, male, female, group, solo artist. Nobody does it like her, and nobody throws shade like her, baby. I love it. I'm here for it. Y'all, this wore me out because I had to edit, I had to insert. But Ree, you gave me drama, and I'm just trying to do a video on you. Hot garbage can mess. Tune in for my next episode of the drama behind the music. That's it, and that's all, YouTube. We've talked the talk. Now it's time to walk the walk. Baby, I'm finna go in here and eat me some food like Ree. Bye, y'all.